Despite being almost 70 years old, Smurfs is still one of the biggest thriving franchises today. Well, maybe not thriving, and maybe not biggest, but they still have movies and TV shows being produced for them in the big 2025, and some of them suck. But today I'm going to connect 13 seasons of shows with a combined total of 589 episodes, 5 movies including the brand new one, 50 or so comic books, and I don't even know how many video games. And I'm going to put all of that into one massive timeline. Smurfs are little gnome-adjacent creatures that are as tall as 3 apples stacked on top of each other. Traditionally, there are only 99 Smurfs that exist, but that number is really quite fluid depending on how funky the writers feel. We'll just go with 99 for now. They live in Smurf Village. The entire thing is probably 5 square feet, consisting of a bunch of mushroom houses. Their worst nightmare is Mario coming by. Smurf Village is hidden to any non-Smurf, protected by a magic spell that may or may not manifest itself as an invisible veil. The Smurfs have their own language. Well, not really. Basically just English, but with 1,000th of a percent difference. They replace basic nouns and verbs with the word Smurf. And now to fit the theme, with your permission of course, I am going to do that. I'm not wearing blue face. The leader of the Smurfs at any given time is a Papa Smurf. Not this guy, it's just a title. When Papa Smurfs retire, their new title is Grandpa Smurf. Every Smurf is named after their profession or a personality trait of theirs. That's a good way to prevent crime. Just don't name one murderer Smurf, tax evasion Smurf, or public master Smurfer Smurf. The Smurfs survive by eating Smurf berries and sarsaparilla leaves. Everyone starts out as baby Smurf, and as they grow up, they learn whatever skill comes to them, or they behave how they're going to behave, and thus they unlock their name. What I'd really like to know is how the Smurfs are made in the first place, especially because it's a complete wiener fest in Smurf Village. There's one female, and she was created artificially, so before she was just manufactured, what was going on? The answer they give is as Stork drops the babies off. Yeah, okay, sure. What else are you gonna tell me? The Tooth Fairy's real? Oh, they are friends with the Tooth Fairy. Well, ignore that. What's the real deal? Let me tell you about the Smurfs and the Smees. When a Smurf really loves a Smurf, they have Smurf. The Smurf will take his Smurf, and the Smurf will take her Smurf, and together his Smurf and her Smurfs, it makes a Smurf. But maybe not, because there aren't females. Maybe there is a secret female and male Smurf somewhere smurfing each other, bumping Smurfies, smurfing uglies, whichever one. And then give the baby they Smurf to a Stork, and delivers it in his bundle, and the male and female continue Smurfing. And perhaps the Smurf gestation period is years, so maybe that's why the population is so little. Do they asmurfily produce? Or even perhaps-ally, a third option here, purely my own speculation, slightly paradoxical, completely paradoxical, kinda like asmurfual reproduction, maybe there's pregnant Smurf. Like how there's brainy Smurf, it's pregnant Smurf. That's their job. Their only job is to smurf out baby Smurfs. But where did pregnant Smurf come from if that's their job? But that conversation devolves to Smadam and Smeeve, or whichever one you Smurfscribe to. It'd also be really weird if they just hope for new baby Smurfs to become that role. Let's just say Storks it is. Glad we figured that out. For almost all of time it was believed there were no female Smurfs. But ending this debacle is a village proverbially just down the hall in their forest. In the Forbidden Forest lives a Smurf village with only females, probably 99 of them. They are wild and feral, but really nice to one another, just like the male Smurfs. The Smurfs and the Smurf girls are unaware of the existence of each other. Despite this, they fundamentally rule the exact same way with a single senile leader that only wears red clothing. The Smurf timeline probably coincides with our real-world timeline because, I don't know, they merge later, which puts us in circa 1460, about 100 years after the Mongol Empire and the Ottoman Empire is rising. In Smurf Village, the current Papa was training his protege, soon to be Papa, the one we all know. His age is one of the most inconsistent things, but he could be around 8 or 490. It's kind of a range. Depends on which movie you look at. Eventually, current Papa leaves Smurf Village to search for the purest samples of the 4 elements to keep the Long Life Stone working. The Long Life Stone allows for Smurfs to live long lives, but every millennium it must be replenished. Papa Smurf leaves, becoming Grandpa Smurf, and his protege becomes the Papa Smurf we all know. Another Smurf during this time was Nanny Smurf, who left shortly after Grandpa looking for him. Papa Smurf would now begin his multi-hundred-year reign. Probably around 50 or so years later, it's medieval times. Papa is 542. Like I said, his age screws up the timeline horribly. In 2011, he is 4 years older, so we're just going to ignore this fact. It's not too important. In a kingdom a bit a ways away from Smurf Village lives Sir Johann and a numpty fool Peewit. The guy that made the Smurfs, Peyo, created these characters as well. They had their own franchise and everything. I hope they eventually also bring in Peyo's other iconic work. Johann and Peewit find a flute with 6 holes. I don't know about you, but I think that's a recorder. The flute is magical and makes everyone do a little jig upon hearing it, and they have to null its effects after it was stolen. They travel to a wizard named Omnibus, who tells them the flute was created by the Smurfs. Omnibus knows how to get to Smurf Village, but only cosmically. He puts them in a dream state and they travel to Smurf Village. Papa introduces himself and the Smurfs, and he makes Johann and Peewit a brand new flute to counteract the current one. They use it and they smurf the day. Johann and Peewit, along with Omnibus, continue to be trusted friends of the Smurfs. And they're in the 80s show a ton. And I'm never going to mention them again. Smurfing us to the 1960s with a black and white show containing a mere 9 episodes. All episode plots were reused in the 80s show, so wouldn't it be funny if we just smurfed to that one? There's really no need to double dip. A ridiculous amount of Smurfisodes. 9 whole seasons. Papa Smurf is still the leader. He is roughly the same age, despite being hundreds of years later, but you know, Smurfs are basically tortoises. All regular Smurfs are around 100. Similar to other supercentenarian species like Yoda, their species are still young at 100, and at 150, they officially become adults. It's also not really confirmed if they're even able to die. I'm guessing the long life stone prevents it. At the bare minimum, they have a concept of death. They accidentally believe Lazy Smurf is going to die and everyone's sad, so I think they know at least what it is. Now some of the other Smurfs at this time. I don't really feel the need to explain their personality traits. It's their name. They do not behave any other way besides what's in their name. It's a scientific improbability. They are constant. I don't know if these set 99 qualities is all there is. I'm curious if when they get old and eventually die, or go to Smurf heaven or hell, which is implied to exist, do they reincarnate into the version of their trait, or are their previous traits unable to be used since their originals died? So if Happy Smurf existed in the 1600s and later died, can there ever be a Happy Smurf again? Has there never been a Brainy Smurf prior to modern day? So many questions, so many answers most people probably don't care about. The most prominent Smurfs of Smurf Village that smurf over every form of Smurf media are Brainy Smurf, Clumsy Smurf, Hefty Smurf, Grouchy Smurf, Vanity Smurf, Handy Smurf, Jokey Smurf, Chef Smurf, and Farmer Smurf. There are obviously more, a lot more, but these are the ones that are the main characters throughout every movie and show. And there's so many options for variety, but they never switch it up. You want to add to the confusing ages? Johann, Peewit, and Omnibus, and everyone else in the kingdom are still living. Reminder, it's been hundreds of years. I'm going to smurf this up to the fact that they live in a supremely magical area. Every magical trope from anything fantasy thing ever, anything you can think of, from crystal balls to dragons to invisibility cloaks, it's here in Smurf Village and the surrounding kingdoms, including wizards and witches. The wizard Gargamel lives a short distance from Smurf Village. He's the leading antagonist. He wants to capture these blue blobs, and nothing will get in the way of that. Gargamel tries literally everything under the magical sun to try and capture them. Potions, traps, turning himself into a Smurf, creating a magic mirror with an alternate dimension on the other side, all kinds of weird stuff. Besides everything that does, because he's never able to fully do what he wants to do with them. And what is that? Turning them to gold using alchemy. That's his most common reason, but other times it's for vague magic spells, or hey, even eating them. Maybe he wants to Smurf them. He just wants to capture them. Okay, who cares if there's a valid reason? Smurfy MacGuffin. Gargamel's most iconic creation is Smurfette. His ploy was to create her, woo over all the Smurf boys, and lead them back to his castle. He took a lump of magical blue clay and made a female Smurf. Hefty is the one that finds her first and brings her back to the village. They're pretty chill with it, but all Smurfs, besides Papa, have never seen a female before. They didn't even know it existed. Smurfette is something unfathomable. It's like they just found a brand new color, and they're like, aight, you can live here. They're not even the slightest bit, shocked. But Smurfette's evil, and she tries to tsunami the village. So they indict her, they capture her, and the guards have these axe things. Why do the Smurfs have these? It's also hilarious that they have them. Papa, using his magic and sorcery, turns her into a good Smurf, and then the Smurfs goon for her. And since she is the only female, there are a lot of plots about how all the Smurfs want her, and they battle royale for her as the prize, which it's kind of weird. It might be why the modern movies flip her role as this awesome independent Smurf lady. But that doesn't happen yet. So when spring rolls around, they all try to court her, including, write this down, including Papa Smurf. Lest we forget, she was just created. She's like 1. Can we call up Smurf Hansen? Papa is more than 500 times her age. Gargamel lives with his cat Azrael, who instead of smurfing mice, he smurfs Smurfs. Gargamel's mother, Mummy, stops by unannounced sometimes and abuses the Smurf out of Gargamel, nagging him, smurfing him, and is just a smurfing bother. She also wants those Smurfs captured, for some Smurfy MacGuffin reasons. There are so many other villains. The villains probably outnumber the Smurfs. Imagine if they all teamed up. Most are wizards, witches, and warlocks, but there's trolls, imps, homeless people, and other random creatures. There are some that are far more formidable than others, and some that just appear once and forsake their way out of the magic scene. These throwaway evil dudes appear most often in the Johan and Peewit episodes, where they take over the episode and the Smurfs smurf to the back. These episodes were very boring. So basically, what I'm also saying is I am not going to go over every single villain ever. The longest occurring witch is Hagatha, and never has there been a name so fitting since Pink Panther, and she has poor self-esteem because of it. She's bald. Like Gargamel, she's an unrelenting force on the Smurfs. Most of her schemes involve something to do with creating hair for herself, which requires the capture of Smurfette and a separate time of squirrel napping. But more commonly, her plots are to find love. She teams up with Gargamel to find the illustrious Harlequin, a wizard she wants to smurf, but the one she ends up actually smurfing is Lizardo. Ugh. Can't find a human that will smurf her, so she resorts to a lizard person. Do lizards not have standards? Even worse than that, she is put in a love spell with Gargamel briefly. Not exactly a spell, but Cupid, the real Cupid. The purple Smurfs are a brief villain. A fly bit lazy, turning him purple, and goes around biting all of the other Smurfs, bringing a Smurfpocalypse. And all they say is nap. Just a small little zombie invasion that they get rid of super quickly. That wasn't really super important to mention, but it's an iconic episode. Purple Smurf got a Funko Pop, and if you get a Funko Pop, it's a high honor. It's not like every minor character in every show ever made gets one. An ally of the Smurfs is Big Mouth, a massive ogre who originally was going to devour the Smurfs, but they sent him a counteroffer and make him food, and then they become friends forever. They add 2 Smurfs to the 99, both artificially. Vanity's reflection is brought to life after the mirror is smurfed by lightning. He's just called the 100th Smurf. Number 101 is Clockwork Smurf, created by Handy. He's the first mechanical Smurf, created to do other Smurfs' jobs. Clockwork Smurf goes to the kingdom, a different kingdom than the one Johan and Peewit are from. Prince Gerard is thrown in prison by his Aunt Imperia, so she can become ruler. Clockwork Smurf just pops in, rescues Gerard, and together all Smurfs and Gerard overthrow his aunt, coronating Gerard as king. Clockwork is shut down, but he will make his return. Not really important to the series, but iconic at least, is the Astro Smurf. Dreamer Smurf wants to go to space, so Papa and the others fake an otherworldly planet with a species called Swoofs, which is just Smurfs with a potion costume. Dreamer later, quote-unquote, revisits this planet, seeing his friends again. Completely irrelevant, but Dreamer also becomes king of a bear species called Pookies. Just thought you might want to know that. You didn't? Oh, well, I told you anyway. Papa Smurf leaves the village briefly and Brainy seizes his position. This is crucial character development. Dictator Smurf should be Brainy's new name. He rules with a blue iron fist, which leads to a resistance effort and a Smurf civil war. The Smurf shed that results from this is atrocious. Well, okay, no Smurfs die. It's a kid's show. They're not gonna show that. Wouldn't it be kind of funny if a lawnmower just went over their village? Anyway, Brainy hides his totalitarian tendencies, but they slip from time to time. Things get a little more brutal. The terror of Gargamel and Hagatha continue, but as a bit of payback, they trick Gargamel into thinking he died. And the only way to come back is through kindness to the Smurfs. Who would have thought? The Smurfs use psychological warfare. They smurf this to Lazy Smurf, their own kind. Instead of making him think he died, they make him think he's decades in the future. They freak out their fellow citizens just because they can. Adding to the brutality, Smurfette gets a pet mouse, and it dies. And she's sad. That's it. But it's surprisingly tragic for this show. Clockwork Smurf is turned back on, somehow, and also, somehow, gains sentience. He returns to King Gerard to help him once again, this time deceasing his uncle, Sir Leopold. Gargamel makes enemies with the magical species fairies. There are tons of fairies, but new ones are introduced constantly, never really having a main character fairy. One time, much later though, the fairies flood Smurf village with porridge. Gargamel introduces something even worse than himself, his godfather, Lord Balthazar, and that doesn't roll off the tongue super easy. Shocker, Balthazar also wants to capture Smurfs, but he wants them for his menagerie. I don't really know why you need one of those, but Balthazar sends a wood nymph to Smurf village and she becomes obsequious towards Papa Smurf, and they decide to get hitched. Completing her ploy, Lord Balthazar captures Papa and Flowerbell, the wood nymph, is set free. Instead of just running away, Flowerbell acquires the other Smurfs for a rescue mission. They save Papa, but their marriage is annulled. But the treachery doesn't end there. Brainy Smurf accidentally gives Gargamel their clothes while Papa is sleeping. This makes everyone think Brainy is helping the enemy. He claims he's not, but I think he's a misanthrope. He wants to be Papa. He wants to rule. I know he does. He puts Gargamel's elixir into the community soup pot, and they all turn yellow and birdy. A blue moon rises, and you know what that means. A baby Smurf is due to be delivered. A phenomenon Papa doesn't even know the origin of. A new Smurf arrives in the village, obviously just being named Baby for now until he finds his purpose. Now that Baby's there, they abuse his story potential. Every other episode, this infant is being captured or something. When he is initially brought to the village, the stork returns with a letter demanding the return of the baby after the baby maker's error, whoever that is. The Smurfs refuse, but ultimately they give him up. The next night, Baby is returned, and the ominous creators applaud their intrepid behavior, and they give Baby back. I think they're implying it's Smurf God, because how else would they have known what the Smurfs did to try and keep Baby there? Chlorhydrus is their new threat, adding on to Gargamel, Hagatha, Balthazar, and hundreds of random one-offs. She briefly appeared last season, but takes a front row seat now. None of the wizards and witches are really worse than the others, but this lady put an ugly spell on her own daughter, turning her into a hag. So if there was a contest, I think she would win. Mother Nature is here this season. She's one of the many holiday-like figures the Smurfs are allied with. She's the one they associate with most. She manages to smurf things up more often than not, turning Lazy red one time and turning Smurfette white a different time. They are friends with Father Time, who obviously controls time. He is captured by Balthazar in hopes Lord Balthy can use Father Time's abilities. That results in a temporal rift, bringing dinosaurs to modern day. There's also a thing called the River of Time, which they drain, causing time to speed up. And like I already mentioned, Cupid is a thing. They're friends with him. Chlorhydrus tries to sabotage him, turning his love arrows to hate arrows. She also sabotages Mr. Nicholas, not once, but twice, doing basically the exact same thing she did to Cupid. Mr. Nicholas is Santa, which means there's a Jesus Smurf. However, that's his name, and that's not how Smurfs are named. What would you call Jesus Smurf? Resurrecty Smurf? The Tooth Fairy is also their friend, along with the Man in the Moon, who's responsible for lighting the moon, Lady Luck, that controls luck, and the Spirit of the Scales, who balances truth and lie. That's a cool one. Love is in the air, maybe from Cupid. Handy falls in love with a mermaid named Marina, and the urge to make fun of Handy's name is immense, but I am not going to. Things don't work out though. Air breathers and water breathers can't be together, but they visit each other throughout the series, creating a Smurf Marine, reigniting their flame here and there. Our old wizard pal Gargi is also put into an arranged marriage. Well, I don't know if I should say he was the one put in it. I'm waging my bets and saying the princess was forced into it. And finishing off Gerard's story for good, his family's back to kill him. This guy should get a new family. This time his cousin has turned him into a stag. But all's well that ends well. Clockwork and the other Smurfs reinstate Gerard as the ruler. Nothing insane happens this season. They get the crown of Titans, which has some ancient backstory about two Titans that constantly fought, so the wearer of the crown becomes a dictator. They don't know this, but guess who wants to put the crown on? Brainy the Dictator Smurf. They make Baby a golden diaper, mud aliens come down, and the Smurfs rescue the Emerald Empress from the Crystal Kingdom. That's how weird some of the one-offs are. I'm not going to even explain that one, because we never hear about them again. There are two new groups introduced. The Wartmongers, led by King Bulrush. They are troll, goblin, frog creatures who terrorize the Pixies, who are the other group. They live in a place that I'm not going to say because of Daddy YouTube, so you can look it up. And this season, Big Mouth gets a girlfriend, Big Nose. Just wait till you see the nephew. Completely opposite to the previous season, tons of different Smurfs get the spotlight. Natural Smurf, Nat for short, Snappy Smurf, and Slouchy Smurf are all de-aged, reverting them back to Smurflings, something that really isn't new to the show. Papa was de-aged in the Fountain of Youth in Season 1, but every time it happened, they fixed it. This time they didn't, so Nat, Snappy, and Slouchy are stuck as kids now. And it's just like Baby Smurf, they steal the spotlight. They're in tons of episodes now. They also pull a Gargamel and create a new female Smurf, a sister for Smurfette, Sassette. Sassette Sassette is the new Smurf in Smurf Village, and the so-called spotlight is forced to be shared with Sassette and the Smurflings. They celebrate Unhappiness Day, a day dedicated to not being happy, going against the Smurfs' core values of happiness. They do it to make them appreciate the things they really love, but the Smurfs certainly don't act like they take their happiness for granted, so I don't even know why they would do that. They smurf an imp called the Game Master, who just smurfs around and challenges people to a game. Clearly, there's nothing better to do in Smurf Forest. Can't you, like, read a book or something, or smurf your Smurf? I don't know. And to finish the season off, Gargamel time travels to undo the past, which doesn't smurf. And then after that, there's no more time travel in the show, right? Not an entire season worth? Okay, good, just checking. Introducing our new Spotlight character, Grandpa Smurf. He has returned from his 500-year-long journey. I struggle sitting down and writing a script about dumb blue people for 5 minutes at a time. How can you go on for 5 centuries with one task? I may need to take 85 million breaks from watching a show with dialogue that primarily consists of Smurf and la la la, but at least I get it done. Grandpa Smurf comes back 500 years later and has not found any of the pure forms of the elements. So the Smurfs go back out on a journey with him, and they find it like real quick and restore the long life stone. I hope this makes Grandpa Smurf realize his entire journey was pointless. There's a new villain. Sub-villain, not good enough to be a villain, but a villain in training. He is kicked out of wizard school, so they discard him onto Gargamel, like the nasty tomato on a burger. His name is Scruple, and Gargamel trains him. Scruple smurfs in love with a young witch who Smurfette met a long time ago, Brenda. But he only wants to smurf her so he can smurf her wand. We get to see Big Mouth's nephew, Big Feet. He gets an episode all about him. Poor thing. There's no way they make shoes at a proper size. Sweepy Smurf also gets a brief spotlight. The whole episode is about him wanting to be popular because his job is to sweep chimneys. That's his whole thing. Nothing wrong with it. It's just kind of a weird pick for a Smurf. I mean, cool, it makes him really unique, but there's like 100 Smurfs. How often do you need your chimney clean? I mean, whatever. They also break the color wheel. I didn't know that was feasible. The new Spotlight character is Wild. About 100 years ago, when the other Smurfs were babies, don't think too hard on that because that messes up how Smurf stuff works. Wild wandered off and was raised by squirrels, so he's completely feral. He returns to Smurf Village and they slowly integrate him into their society. Almost nothing worth noting comes close to happening. Gargamel falls in love with Evelyn the Witch for one episode. They encounter a unicorn. They encounter Beastly, whatever he is. They encounter Trockles. Again, I don't know what those are, but Hefty is forced to marry one. And weirdest of all, they meet the Nebbits. Nebbits. They try to make them pets. Another Smurfufactured Smurf is Clockwork Smurfette, created again by Handy to pair with Clockwork, but she falls in love with her creator instead of Clockwork. Nobody Smurf, a completely useless Smurf, saves the entire village, and now he's more important after Papa says, yeah, you're somebody. So nobody becomes somebody. Wow, so much development. If only he appeared again. Which he might in 2025. Who knows if it's the same one. Brainy, his dictator tendencies, puts Clumsy on trial for a mistake he made. Really, you're gonna play this game? Clumsy is going to smurf things up. The mistake he made was losing Baby Smurf. Did he really lose him? Sure, but what do you expect? It's like eating 6 of Chili's mozzarella stick things, the ones with 10-inch diameters, and then being surprised when you feel like you just died twice. What did you expect? Also, I never did that, don't worry about it. Grandpa Smurf is like, oh Smurf, Nanny Smurf, the only female Smurf I've ever known and definitely smurfed it once or twice. I gotta go rescue her. Grandpa goes to Castle Captor and saves Nanny Smurf, and she becomes the Spotlight Smurf. Also, she has a pink bear thing named Smoogle. Smoogle. Grandpa's nemesis comes back too, and is just another wizard. Statistically, there should be a villain that isn't a wizard or a horrific creature. But no! Denisa, Lord Balthazar's niece, doesn't follow her lineage, and she becomes friends with Sassette. The Smurfs are super nice, I get that, but what can you do with them? How are you supposed to hang out? I would have constant anxiety. One wrong step, and it's over. Brainy finally gets his wish, and settles for the next best thing to Smurf Dictator, King of the Trockles. There are no Spotlight Smurfs. There's actually, like, not many Smurfs. Because they aren't in Smurf Village. Nope. Anyone want to know where they went? All over everywhere. Across time. Hanna-Barbera took their own liberties this season. And using time scroll crystals, a select group of Smurfs time travel through tons of different periods, running into various past iterations of Gargamel, but other than that, nothing smurfing happens. Smurf time travel. Why were the Smurfs time traveling? Why was that the next step in writing? A whole season dedicated to it. Why? Clearly no one liked it because it was the final season. And the Smurfs are never seen again in cartoon form for quite a while. Actually, that's not quite true. Cartoon all-stars to the rescue. A good old crossover. Every major 80s cartoon gets together. The Smurfs, Garfield, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Winnie the Pooh, Alvin and the Chipmunks, DuckTales, Alf, Muppet Babies, Ghostbusters, and Looney Tunes. It starts with a nice memo from the 41st president, George Herbert Walker Bush, and his wife, Barbara Bush. You know you're in for a treat. A piggy bank is stolen from a kid's room. So rising from a comic book, Papa Smurf and a few other Smurfs, through sheer force of will, becomes corporeal in the human world and communicates with all other merch in the room to help find the robber. This room belongs to Corey. So somehow all of these characters remove themselves from their merchandise and become alive in the real world. The thief was the kid's older brother Michael, who's been smoking on that wacky tobacco. Michael is erratic and Corey confronts him on his changed behavior, but he denies it. He shoves his paraphernalia box under his bed where some of the hiding cartoons look at it. I'm a pure little boy, never puffed on anything, never tasted a drop of alcohol, but I'm also not stupid. And what the Smurf is that? What could that thing possibly be? Michael heads off to an arcade where a sentient smoke cloud begins tempting him to try the harder stuff. Crack. Crack? That's quite the jump. Oh my god. Bugs Bunny arrests the smoke cloud and takes Michael back in time Christmas Carol style, and he sees his past self being peer pressured into it. Michael falls into a sewer where Michelangelo spews some anti-pot talk. You know, I don't know how much that really means coming from Michelangelo. The Muppets tell him what will happen to his brains if he continues down this path. Alf shows him the Skid Row version of himself if he continues. The smoke cloud locks away Pooh so he can tempt Corey to puff puff. Daffy Duck shows Michael his deathbed, and seeing his enervated self convinces Michael not to do drugs. He's able to stop Corey before she can do anything, and Michael kicks the smoke cloud out of his room. But he does warn that the smoke cloud will be back. The Smurfs are barely in this. But still, I don't know how effective this propaganda was. If anything, this was an advertisement. It shows you that you get to talk to all of your favorite cartoon characters if you smoke. Now, the Smurfs really weren't seen in cartoons for a while. 20 years, but they were in video games, and the comics continued. And what better time to talk about the comics? There's not much to talk about, actually, because I've basically covered it all. Every comic story has been turned into an episode, and eventually some of the episodes were turned into a comic. There is a story where Gargamel's twin brother, Gormelon, shows up, but he doesn't do anything. He does have a magic flute, just saying. It could be the same magic fruit from earlier. Gormelon is not a bad guy like his twin, and he's pretty peaceful with the Smurfs. In a separate story, Gargamel's triplet nephews show up. It's never confirmed if they are Gormelon's kids or not. Mel does have another brother not revealed yet, Razamel, but I also highly doubt they are his. The Smurfs are back in 2011. They look kinda, I like it. I don't know if other people do. They're CGI now, and Gargamel's a live-action human, and Azrael is a live-action cat. On the night of the blue moon, a portal opens up, and because Gargamel raids the village, Papa Smurfette, Brainy, Clumsy, Grouchy, and a new Scottish Smurf, Gutsy, jump through the portal and end up in New York. Gargamel and Azrael follow them. The Smurfs meet a happily married couple, Patrick and Grace Winslow, and they are expecting with a bun in the oven. In this world, a Smurf is like a mythological creature, and Peyo, the guy who originally created them, is a Smurf researcher. Gargamel is trying to capture the Smurf's essence so he can be supreme leader of the world. They bring all the Smurfs into the real world, Smurf Gargamel, and they all return home, except for Gargamel and Azrael. Happy, wonderful, awesome. They do a short Christmas special doing their own rendition of A Christmas Carol. The Christmas Carol is a fine story, but we're not even beating the dead horse. Like, the horse is a pasty, gloopy mush at this point, and we're still kicking it. Everybody knows the Christmas Carol story, and they just replaced the cast with Smurfs. Then came Smurfs 2, Electric Boogaloo. They should have used that as the title. They named their kid Blue, and he's whatever age this is. Gargamel has become a famous magician in the real world. He has made two fake Smurfs, Vexy and Hackus, just like he made Smurfette. He has very little left of Papa's essence he stole last movie, so he needs more to make an army of his own Smurfs. Again, to rule the world, I think. This same essence is what keeps Vexy and Hackus living. In Smurf Village, it's Smurfette's birthday and they throw a surprise party, but she's captured before she can see it, thinking all her friends forgot about her, reaffirming her already spiraling identity crisis. This time, Papa, Grouchy, Clumsy, and Vanity have to go save her. Could have switched them out a little. I mean, keep Papa, but really only one new guy and slash the main cast by a third. Vexy and Hackis hang out with Smurfette the whole movie, bonding, hoping to get the Smurf creation spell. Meanwhile, the other four Smurfs, Patrick and his stepfather Mad Eye Moody, who is a duck at one point, track down Smurfette. She ends up giving Gargamel the spell, but only to save Vexy and Hackis. The other Smurfs, though, think she betrayed them. They all stop Gargamel and turn the two grays into blues, becoming truer Smurfs, and they all return home. I'm just a little curious, what are Vexy's and Hackis's thing? Like, what are they supposed to be? There was a big father theme with this movie, Patrick and his dad, and Smurfette with her real father Gargamel. Also, I should mention, Papa Smurf calls Smurfette his daughter because he helped turn her blue. So, let's just ignore that he tried to smurf her back in the 80s show. Once again, they all return home, including Gargamel and Azrael. Happy, happy, wonderful, wonderful, awesome, awesome. On rewatch, the first one is still okay, but the second one is not so great. I really liked these movies as a kid, probably solely because of the two McDonald's toy sets that came out in promotion for these two movies. I collected both sets of 16, and all 32 are still on display in my room today. I think that's a flex. I absolutely adore those toys. Hey, now that I have an audience to point this out to, in Better Call Saul, in the second episode, it's supposed to take place in 2002, but this Smurfette toy from 2013 is on a shelf. I noticed that right away when I first watched that episode, and I don't know how it got past the set designers, but shame on them. I'm glad I can finally share that. I've been keeping that in for a while. That doesn't really have much to do with Smurfs, but thank you for listening. There was The Legend of the Smurfy Hollow, another generic spooky Halloween story with the Headless Horseman. Again, another story that's, only been done 1,000 times. In 2017, they hit the big screen again, but not to round out the trilogy. No, that ship has sailed, and that ship has sunk. Fully animated again, Smurfette has another identity crisis. Basically the same one, that she's not a real Smurf. Please do a different topic. Gargamel wants to capture the Smurfs. Shocker! In this movie, Smurfette, Brainy, Hefty, and Clumsy find the female Smurf village. Again, 3 of the 4 have been used as main characters in movies already, especially Clumsy. Please remove him. The female Smurf village is led by Smurf Willow, and other prominent female Smurfs are Smurf Storm, Smurf Blossom, and Smurf Lily. Rather than personalities, they're named after a nature thing. The thing is, they don't do anything in the movie. The Smurfs just find them, Papa gets there to rescue the Smurfs, Gargamel gets there, they beat him, and that's it. The female Smurfs are in maybe a third of the movie. That's a big maybe, but I don't even know. There was just a lot of untapped potential. Now the two villages live amongst each other peacefully, and after the credits roll, they all smurfed each other. I know they did. With how much they smurf over Smurfette, there's no doubt in my mind. Now there's a whole village of Smurfettes. One for everybody. Or maybe 2. They meld the 80s show and modern animation, and this is what we get. The Smurfs 2021. Still an ongoing show. I wish all of these projects would get subtitles. Taking all previous Smurf characters, add in the female characters, Gargamel, Azrael, and Big Mouth, and there you go. There's your cast. Balthazar, nor any of the 1,000 enemies are here, besides Gargamel's mother. There's only 2 new Smurfs worth mentioning. Dimwitty, which is just a Clumsy clone, and Smurf Begonia, the female Clumsy. So now we have Clumsy, Dimwitty, and Begonia doing Stupid Smurf. Again, there's so much untapped potential, but we get 3 Clumsies instead. Take it or leave it. In this show, Big Mouth is a foe. There are a few Smurfs they don't bring back, like Grandpa, Nanny, and Clockwork. Handy creates a robot called Diaper Daddy, a robot for changing diapers, becoming another sometimes appearing character. The Smurfs pretend to be girls. They spread fake news across Smurf Village, causing mass hysteria. And the most Smurfy thing of all, they travel to a different dimension where the Smurfs and Gargamel's roles are reversed. Nothing much happens again. Leaf, the nature fairy, is introduced. She takes over Mother Nature's character. Brainy, once again, for the final time, so far, concocts a potion that makes the entire village obey his every command. He's not even hiding it. I wish they would do a whole movie on that, where they have to overthrow dictator Brainy after he smurfed the Smurfs. Handy invents a camera so Painter Smurf can take pictures. I'm only mentioning this because in the 80s show, a camera was invented and Painter hated it due to it smurfing his entire job, so they've completely flipped that episode plot. And finally, Smurfette gambles. Also not really a new idea in Smurf Village. There was a gambler Smurf in the comics. New characters this season: Smurf Bubble, Smurf Firefly, and Smurf Meteorite. All new female Smurfs. Voltaire the Dragon, a friend of the Smurfs, and Gargamel gets a niece and nephew. Don't know who their parents are. Could be Gormelon, could be Razamel. The mysterious niece and nephew are Rowena and Dwayne. Basically just Scruple clones. The Smurfs go to space, because they have the technology for that, I guess, and Baby is able to time travel, bringing back the Gmurfs, the cavemen Smurfs. And that's it for this show. The video games are basically useless. They're just playable Smurf episodes. We're the good guys, Gargamel's the bad guy. One of the games is just the time travel season in Nintendo form. There's a couple racing games, a drawing game, dancing game versions of the movies. Specifically on the Wii U version of Smurfs 2, you can control Clockwork Smurf on the gamepad. I guess that's cool. A Smurf Sims, Candy Crush, Cooking, Endless Runner, and a party game. Why do I even bother mentioning them? To let you know, they are pointless. Except for 2 games. The Smurfs Mission Villeaf and The Smurfs 2, The Prisoner of the Green Stone. Both sequels to the Lost Village movie or the 2021 show. In both of the games, you have to fight our old pal Gargamel. So spoilers ahead, not that you want to see this movie anyway. The Smurfs, Rihanna is Smurfette, that's the title. The movie is completely based on the advertising of Rihanna is Smurfette. They don't even want you to see the movie, just Rihanna. This movie completely throws out everything that was established in any Smurfs media before it. It is a disgrace. I'm dubbing this non-canon for the good of all Smurf kind. But here's the history of this universe of Smurfs. There's a thing called the Alliance of the Intergalactic Wizards. Gargamel's great-great-great-grandfather Zazamel signed the treaty for the Alliance. They want to rid the world of everything good. Of course, well-written villains. There are 4 members, each with a book. Somehow, Papa Smurf and his 2 brothers, Ken and Ron, have Razamel's book. Razamel is Gargamel's younger brother, sporting a god-awful 60s haircut. So yeah, Papa has brothers. They shouldn't be able to have parents or anything because of stork delivery, but that's not even the worst thing they change. This does imply that Papa's real name is Papa, not a title. The Smurfs aren't just lovable creatures. They are descendants of mighty guardians. They are gardeneers of all good in the world, protectors of peace and harmony in the universe, sworn to protect the 4 books from the Alliance. Yeah, that is some crazy retcon work. So Ron, voiced by the awesome Kurt Russell, falls into Razamel's portal and they think he died. But he saved Jaunty, one of the books. Did I mention the books were sentient? Papa was so ashamed, he hid away in his own creation, Smurf Village. Yep. Papa created Smurf Village in this movie. He created it to hide and protect the other living Smurfs. Flash forward to modern day, only 106 years later, so Smurf Village is young, doesn't have a Papa to Grandpa mechanic, and Papa probably isn't 500 some years old. Ken then went to hide in Paris. This is already an abomination. So modern day, it's regular Smurf Village. Papa never told the other Smurfs about the books and the history behind them, or the fact that Smurfs are descendants of guardians, and their purpose is to protect everything good. Rihanna didn't do a great job as Smurfette. It completely took me out with how nonchalant and like a grown woman she sounds. It's kind of hard to explain, but I think you can probably get that from the trailers. No Name Smurf is the other main character, voiced by the wonderful James Corden. It's not like they've done No Name Smurf twice in previous shows. Both Smurfette and No Name have identity crises in this movie. They already did that for Smurfette in Smurfs 2 and Lost Village. But hey, 3rd time's the charm. They copy and pasted her story of am I good or am I bad because I was created by Gargi. It doesn't even matter. Like, I just have to wonder, did you see the other 2 movies? It doesn't even matter though. I'm not kidding, it doesn't even feel like she's in this movie. No Name makes a throwaway comment that Sound Effects Smurf has only been in the village since last Tuesday. Just had to include that because they're smurfing every smurfing thing up. No Name complains that he's a nothing Smurf, so Jaunty the book is in Smurf Village and here's No Name, so she hides under his hat, giving him magic powers, but No Name thinks the powers just came to him. After No Name says Baba Booey or something like that, he uses his magic powers, which alerts Joel, the Discord mod who lives in Razamel's basement. This does mean Razamel is over 106 years old. Razamel is the reason Gargamel is in the Smurf forest, because he dumped him there for his incompetence. With that alert, they track your beam Papa out of the village, thinking he has the book. Papa tells the Smurfs about an emergency plan and to find Ken. Clumsy, who trips actually every step, finds Papa's vinyl record that opens a portal to the real world. So it sucks Smurfette, No Name, and like 10 other Smurfs and a turtle that just exists in Smurf Village. They end up in Paris, France. The real world, Paris, France. 3rd time in the real world, 2nd time in France. Been there, done that. Smurfette suddenly knows what Paris is, can speak French, not even knowing what she's saying, and loves French fries. She and the others are weirded out by this, but don't worry, they reveal it, and it's more retconning. But like super pointless retconning. Gargamel still made her, but Razamel was also there, and they made her in France, and she grew up there as an evil Smurf. That's why. It makes no sense why they even touched that in the first place. It doesn't change the story, nor characters in any capacity, but it does confuse things even further. If Gargamel was living in Paris, not Smurf Forest, why would he have wanted to create an evil Smurf in the first place? Razamel accidentally brings Gargamel to his lair thinking it was the book, so now the brothers are back and Papa is captured. On the streets of Paris, the Smurfs are rescued by the International Neighborhood Watch Smurfs. These cool ninja Smurfs, they mess up how Smurfs work even further, but they're in this movie for like 3 minutes, if that. They are led by Moxie, and supposedly she is Ken's daughter. They didn't say that in the movie, but I've seen it online. Not sure if it's true. They take them to Ken, and using No Name's supposed magic, they try to go to Razamel. Psych. They go to Australia. They also left the turtle character back in Ken's club, and we never see him again. So I just have to ask, why was he even introduced? Seriously. In Australia, they find the Snooterpoots, the minion-like creatures. In the trailers, it showed they're called that because they fart. Haha, poop funny. But unless I missed it, and I don't think I did, they cut that from the movie. Just like Influencer Smurf. Again, unless I missed it. Ken was smurfing Mama Poot, the leader of the Snooterpoots. How does that even... They were smurfing each other, but now they're estranged. But Ken does later say that he loves her. Poots briefly smurfually assault the other Smurfs, and they make a deal to get to Razamel. Ken trades her his watch that appeared only for that scene. He said his grandfather gave it to him. He's not supposed to have a grandfather. Smurfette and No Name go have a little motivational musical bit in CGI Australia with fake kangaroos. Razamel invades the Snooterpoots and captures everyone besides Mama Poot, so when Smurfette and No Name get back from their little song excursion, they go with Mama Poot to Germany. Suddenly, Smurfette knows what DoorDash is and how it works, because, you know, she just can. Of course. And they invade Razamel's castle. Razamel admits to Gargamel that he has been slowly sprinkling their father's ashes into Joel's protein shakes. Okay, that's wild, but really the only funny joke in the whole movie. And then suddenly Smurfette, No Name, and Mama Poot rain on their parade. Also, Jaunty accidentally reveals herself, making No Name lose any confidence he built, becoming useless once again. Jaunty is turned evil into a grimoire, and for some reason, Papa was needed to make that happen. Razamel betrays his brother, not letting him be evil with him, and then Razzie Boy heads to the Alliance in outer space. Gargamel saves the Smurfs from death. They turn Azrael into a griffin thing, because they just can, and they also head to space. Razamel overpowers the Alliance and puts them in one of these office water things. These alien guys are also useless in this movie. Razamel takes all 4 books, becoming Lord of the Universe. Gargi and the Smurfs arrive, destroying the room, so they're just in space, I guess. Gargamel is put into the water jug with the Alliance, and Razamel sucks the goodness from the Smurfs, killing them all except Smurfette and No Name. Smurfette tricks Razamel that she's been bad all along, shocking No Name, just like in Smurfs 2, and they are super easily able to overpower him and get Jaunty, all while in this weird void vacuum. They go through this door called the Interdimensional Abyss, and this part is really cool. They go through claymation, pencil drawing, 8-bit, and anime. I wish they were more experimental like that with this movie. Razamel still gets Jaunty back. Razamel blasts No Name, and while unconscious, does some introspection. Papa is there, also with a suddenly appearing watch. No Name also gains magical abilities somehow and resurrects all of the Smurfs. They sing the La 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 song and defeat Razamel, just like the end of Smurfs 1. They rescue Gargamel, and there's this weird interjected line from Papa about how kindness is the best, and kindness always wins. Okay. No Name drops the F-bomb. They bleep it. It was a cheeky joke, but hey, I'll compliment them when they deserve it. They unevil the books, and surprise, Ron is alive and has been in the 10th dimension or something for 106 years. No Name becomes Magic Smurf. Happy, everything's fixed. This movie really had nothing to do with Smurfs. This movie had no clue what it wanted to be. This wasn't even about Smurfette. They tried to make it seem like it was, but she wasn't even important. She does nothing at all. The writer wrote this movie in like 5 hours, never seeing the Smurfs ever. You can't convince me otherwise. I just don't get it. But there's no point in complaining about reboot media. Like putting a monkey in a vase store, something bad is going to happen. So I think I covered just about everything. Let me check. Yup, I have 2 questions to ask you all to send off this video. 1, why is the plural of Smurf S-M-U-R-F-S, Smurfs, not Smurfs? S-M-U-R-V-E-S. Second question, asking for a friend, can you taxidermy a Smurf?